Thank you for watching. Today's Dvar Malchus is brought to you by ShabbosHouseLA. If you enjoy this podcast, please visit ShabbosHouse.org, where you can make a contribution to contribute to support shiurs like this one. Okay, we dedicate this class to the Refura Shelema of Ariel David ben Simcha. May it be speedily and immediately. We are on page 237. It is known that all the events that transpire in the world are by divine providence, and they contain a lesson and instruction in the service of man to his creator, and most certainly regarding major events that are connected to great and important countries in which the majority of the Jewish people are found during the time of exile, countries that are influenced and lead the entire world. Indeed, also the lesson and instruction from these events is regarding a most essential aspect in the service of man to his creator. And likewise regarding the events that transpire in these days. First and foremost, the event that occurred this Erev Shabbos, Friday, in which leaders in great important countries gathered together, and at their head leaders of the two superpowers upon which they decided together and announced a new era in a relationship between countries of the world, nullifying the state of wars between countries of the world, which will express itself also in lessening and nullifying weaponry to the extent of peace and unity, joint efforts and friendly assistance among the countries of the world for the good of the entire humankind. And prior to these events, by divine providence, the president of this country spoke to the entire nation on Tuesday night, days leading up to Shabbos, the beginning of this Erev Shabbos, in which he notified and announced regarding his accomplishments in nullifying weaponry and utilizing the money which will not be used for purchasing weaponry in order to add to the sustenance of people of that country, in an announcement that was agreed upon by the House of Representatives, whereas the law of the country are set and which have the strength even from the perspective of Torah. The law of the country is the law. Therefore, it is appropriate to contemplate among the lesson and instructions from this event, as well as the specific details of these, even its time and place, including its connection to the content of the time in the Torah, namely the Torah portion of the week, as we shall explain. The lesson and instruction from this event is in the most important aspects in the service of the Jewish people, our service throughout the time of exile to bring about the days of Mashiach, among the prophecies of the true and complete redemption through Mashiach regarding the conduct of the nation of the world. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into prunging hooks. One nation will not raise a sword among another nation. They will not teach war anymore. And to add, this is the phenomenon that through the accomplishment of King Mashiach himself, as stated in the beginning of the verse, and he will judge among the nations and rebuke many nations. The judge is the King Mashiach, who will be the master of all the nations, and he will rebuke them, and he will tell the one who is found by him in inequity, correct your ways. And due to this, there will not be any more wars between the nations, since he will make peace between them. They will not need army weapons, and they will transform them into tools to work the ground. For indeed, at the end of the days of Temple Mount of Hashem will be magnificently standing, and all the nations will stream to him, and many nations will go, and they will say, let us go and ascend to the mountain of Hashem, to the house of the God of Yaakov, and he will teach us his ways, and we will go in his path. From Zion, the Torah will emerge, and the word of Hashem from Yerushalayim, and the teacher of his King Mashiach, and about him it is written, and he will judge. And since in these days the heads of the great countries of the world have decided together and announcing regarding nullifying weaponry and adding in the matters which are necessary for the thriving of the sustenance of the country and the world at large, the content of the prophecy, and they will beat their swords into plowshares destroying weapons of war in order to make for them into tools of work, the ground, the earth from which comes the bread. Behold, this is a clear sign of the beginning of the fulfillment of the prophecy in the true and complete redemption through Mashiach. More clearly, since we find ourselves in the highest time of the coming of Mashiach, here he, King Mashiach, comes, we already see the prelude and the beginning of the influence of the King Mashiach on the nations, and he will judge among the nations, and he will rule many nations, and they will beat their swords into plowshares, through the fact that Hashem places in the hearts of the kings of the nations of the world. The heart of the kings and the rulers are in the hands of Hashem to decide and announce together regarding the amazing state of, and they will beat their swords into plowshares. And this is the reason that this decision and announcement transpired in this time, because of its special connection to the true and complete redemption through Mashiach in literally actuality. And may we add that the connection of this event to the beginning of the accomplishment of Mashiach is emphasized also in the detail of this event, the place and the time in which the decision and announcement of the leader of the countries regarding the era of beating their swords into plowshares transpired, the place where this event occurred, a designated place where the representative of the countries of the world come in order to speak together in a peaceful manner, is in this country, is in this city, and this country and this city which they found, the house of our Rebbe, in the diaspora, the house of our life, the synagogue and the study house, Torah, the house of Torah, prayer and good deeds of my revered father-in-law, the Rebbe, leader of our generation, which he chose and set to be the center from where the Torah will come forth and spread of Torah and the well springs of Chassidim outward to every corner of the world until the coming of Mashiach, when your well springs will be spread outward, which then will also be the fulfillment of the prophecy, and they will beat their swords into plowshares. The appreciation of this is as follows. When the leader of our generation came to the lower hemisphere and established his residence in this country and in this city, the refinement of the lower hemisphere truly began to transpire in its fullest strength, namely that also it should be drawn forth the revelation of the giving of the Torah that took place in the upper hemisphere. Furthermore, on the contrary, indeed it has become the source from which spreads forth the main accomplishment of the spreading of the Torah and the wellsprings of Chassidus literally throughout the world, through the emissaries that he sent all over the world, also to the upper hemisphere, even to the furthermost corner in the world, to order to spread Torah and Judaism among the Jewish people, including especially all those that dwell among the nations of the world, speak their language and outwardly act like them. Moreover, and also important, spreading all matters of good, righteousness, and justice, even among the nations of the world, throughout fulfilling the Noahide commandments, as emphasized to a greater extent in the recent years, the closer we come to the time of the arrival of Mashiach, which then I shall transform the nations to have a clear tongue, to all call to the name of Hashem and serve one Creator. And in the recent time period, beginning with the year of wonders, 5750, 1990, and it's a continuation in the year in which I will show you wonders, 5751, and wonders in everything, 5752. Or 1992, this accomplishment reaches its zenith in breaking limitations of that country, Russia, which in the past had engraved on their flag and declared war against spreading Torah and Judaism, including a war against the belief in the Creator and the conduct of the world. What is more, the imprisonment of my revered father-in-law, the Rebbe, leader of our generation, followed by the resulting in him leading the borders of that country, and notwithstanding this, the efforts of the emissary of the leader of our generation is spreading Torah and Judaism continued even there secretly and with literal self-sacrifice until the recent time period in which the decrees of the kingdom was nullified, making it possible to continue the efforts of spreading Torah and Judaism with advanced vigor and greater strength in the open, including the fall of the previous regime and the establishment of a new government under the motto of righteousness, justice, and peace on the foundation of the belief in the creator and conductor of the world. And in continuation to this, on this Erev Shabbos, the new leader of that country met with the leader of this country together with other leaders of great countries of the world. And at this conference, they accepted and announced the resolution whose content is that they will beat their swords into plowshares. And may we say the fact that this conference resolution and announcement occurred in the city of the leader of our generation, my revered father-in-law, the Rebbe writes of his father-in-law, the Rebbe, leader of a generation, of which the leaders of the countries gathered together also, including the leader of this country that needed to come from the capital city to this city, alludes to the fact that all of this is an outcome of the achievements of spreading Torah and Judaism, righteousness and justice throughout the world that has been and is being accomplished by the leader of our generation, the Mashiach of the generation, to the extent that through the perfection of the above-mentioned service in these days, the entire world has become fit for the accomplishments of King Mashiach, and he will judge among the nations and rebuke many nations, and they will beat their swords into plowshares. And also in the time in which this event occurs, within the recent time period itself, is an auspicious time in connection with the redemption for a number of reasons, due to the day of the week, Erev Shabbos, Erev, and preparation for the day that is the entirely Shabbos, and the rest for life everlasting, upon which he removes destructive entities, including weapons, from the world. And furthermore, since we add from this weekday to the holiness of the Shabbos, analogous to a wolf which snatches from before it and from after it, then we snatch from the time of the weekday and make it into the holiness of Shabbos. Indeed, the state of the day that is all Shabbos, he removes destructive entities from the world, is already accomplished on Erev Shabbos. Due to the day of the month, the 26th of the month, the numerical value of the name Havaya of Hashem is idiom of Mahave, creates, which alludes to the state of the world in the time to come, when it will be literally evident throughout the entire creation that the creation of every existence is through the name Havaya, is as the verse says, and the honor of Havaya will be revealed, and all flesh will see together that the mouth of Havaya spoke, and as a result there will be no more room for undesirable matters, destructive entities as weapons, as it is written, they will not do evil nor destroy, for the world will be filled with the knowledge of Havaya. And even more emphasis in the unification of these two unique days as one, that the 26 days of the month occurs on the 6th day of the week, which is similar to the 6th day of creation, and the day upon which Adam was created, the main part of the purpose of the entire creation, and through and after, and the renewal of his creation every Friday, the renewal of the creation of the entire universe is accomplished, and especially when the 6th day of the week occurs on the 26th day of the month, the numerical value of the name Havaya, an idiom for the renewal of the creation of the entire universe, is emphasized to an even greater extent. Furthermore, and also important due to the connection of the time to the leader of the generation, being that it is the last Erev Shabbos of the month of Shvat, the 11th month, which the 10th day of this month is the Yom Halilu, the completion and culmination of the service of my revered father-in-law, the Rebbe, leader of our generation, Rabbi Yosef Yitzhak, and on the 11th day of this month, the continuation and renewal of his leadership, which advanced vigor and greater strength came into fruition, namely, including the culmination and completion of the service of this past generation, the last generation of exile, which is indeed the first generation of the redemption, at the end of 42 years of his leadership, of his generation, which we may say they correspond to the 42 journeys in the desert of the nations, at which point we are already prepared and standing ready to enter the land of Israel in the true and complete redemption, as spoken at length in the previous Hasidic gatherings. Thus also in time, in addition to the place in which the announcement regarding they will beat their swords into plowshares occurred, there is emphasized on the connection of the accomplishments of the leader of our generation, my revered father-in-law, the Mashiach of the generation, which through him the fulfillment of the prophecy, and they will beat their swords into plowshares, is accomplished. And may we connect this with the Torah portion of the week, the Torah portion of Mishpotim, which begins, and these are the laws that you shall place before them, upon which Rashi comments, and these added more to the first ones, namely, just as the first ones are from Sinai, so too these are from Sinai before them and not before Gentiles. And even if you know that regarding a particular law, they judge it just as the laws of the Jewish people. Nonetheless, do not bring it before them in their courts. The content of the Torah portion of Mishpotim is, as its name denotes, laws between man and his friends that are obligated by human intellect, things that are said in the Torah as a law, which had they not been said, it would have been made sense to say them, to the extent that if the Torah would not have been given, we would have learned modesty from a cat, and we would have learned not to steal from an ant. And furthermore, their obligation is understood not only in the intellect of the Jewish people, a wise nation, rather also in the intellect of the nations of the world, to the extent that it is possible that regarding several laws, the nation of the world judged them in a similar manner as the laws of the Jewish people. And may we say that therefore it says in the beginning of the opening of the Torah portion, and these are the laws, even these are from Sinai, that also the laws which are obligated by human intellect must be fulfilled, not only because intellect obligates them, rather due to the commandment of Hashem, and these commandments are also understood in human intellect, because so is the will of Hashem, and for this reason place them also the intellectually understood laws of Mishpatim before them and not before Gentiles, although they judge them like the laws of the Jewish people, since their laws are a result of human intellect obligating them, and they must be a result of the command of Hashem. And even deeper in the verse, and these are the laws, namely that even these are from Sinai, may we mean that these are also the reason for human intellect obligating the intellect understood laws is from Sinai, and that they not being given from Sinai, human intellect would not obligate them like the first laws that would not have thought of had they had not been given. And the explanation of this is that the intellectual obligation is an outcome of the fact that regarding these commandments, the will of Hashem, which on its own transcends understanding, was clothed also in the wisdom of Hashem in the Torah, and since the Torah is the blueprint for which the world was created, these laws became obligatory for the world's point of view, and automatically also in human intellect, including the intellect of the nations of the world, that they have an innate learning towards the laws that are obligatory for the viewpoint of the wisdom of Hashem at Sinai. And based on this, we may also say an innovative explanation of the words of Rashi, and these added more to the first ones, that the additional quality of the first ones from Sinai is also the laws were given from Sinai are also drawn into human intellect, which this is the content of the innovation of the giving of the Torah from Sinai, that the decrees and divisions between the upper realms and the lower realms was nullified, and the wisdom of Hashem in the upper realms shall be also drawn forth and permeate human intellect and lower realms, and also their understanding, the lower realms, even without any outer influence, has an innate learning towards it, only that towards with this it must be evident that their intellect leans towards the laws due to the wisdom of Hashem, even these are from Sinai. And this concept must also be by the nations of the world with regard to the fulfillment of the no-hide commandments, that even through intellect leans towards them. Nonetheless, they must accept them and do them because Hashem commanded them in the Torah. However, if one does not do them because they make sense, it's not considered a righteous Gentile and is not among their scholars. However, if one does them because they make sense, he is considered a righteous Gentile and is not among their scholars. And the ultimate perfection of this will be in the days of the Mashiach. The preoccupation of the entire world, even the nations of the world, will only be to know Hashem, as it says, for the world will be fulfilled with the knowledge of Hashem, namely the knowledge of Hashem, knowing the wisdom of godliness and the like, and the main phenomenon of Sinai is drawn forth and permeates human intellect. Let's go back to that. They must accept them and do them because Hashem commanded them in the Torah. However, if one does them because they make sense, he is not considered a righteous Gentile and is not among their scholars. And may we say that this idea is alluded to as also in the conclusion of the Torah portion, and they saw Hashem of Israel, and beneath his feet there was a brick of sapphire, and they saw Hashem, and they ate and drank, alluding to the fact that seeing godliness, Sinai, is drawn forth and permeates human intellect and unites them with the person like food, and they ate and they drank, which becomes part of one's flesh and blood, accomplished through studying the deeper aspects of the Torah and the manner of understanding and comprehension. They will gain sustenance from it, with the teachings of the Chabad Hasidus, including also through translating the Aramaic by Hilu, the Aramaic word for seeing. The teaching of Hasidus into the 70 languages of the nation of the world is alluded to in the word Levinus, brick of sapphire, which the bricks that are man-made allude to the letters of the 70 languages of the nations of the world, so that it will be understood also to the Jewish people that as of yet do not understand the holy tongue, including that they should be understood also the nations of the world, since they too are obligated to deny idol worship and believe in the creator and conductor of the world, which this is the preparation for the fulfillment of the prophecy that I will transform the nations to have a clear tongue, to all call out at the name of Hashem and serve one creator. And with this we can also truly appreciate the above mentioned event, the decision and announcement of the leaders of the world nations regarding the state of, and they will beat their swords into plowshares on Erev Shabbos and the Torah portion of Mishpotim, and they will beat their swords into plowshares is a concept that is understood and obligated also by human intellect. Intellect understood laws, since human intellect obligates the world existing through righteousness and justice, thus negating wars which bring destruction, heaven forbid, to the extent of ultimately destroying warfare, and they will beat their swords and transforming them into the tools that contribute to the settling of the world plowshares. And notwithstanding this, throughout all the generation, many wars were waged between nations of the world, which brought about destruction in the world opposite of what is obligated by human intellect. We must therefore say that the true reason for the fact that in the recent time period we see a desire to end the era of wars in the world and begin a new era in which the world exists through righteousness, justice, peace, and unity is exceedingly emphasized in the decision and announcement of the leaders of the world's nation on this era of Shabbos is not only due to the intellectual obligation, intellectually understood laws, since the intellectual obligation exists also in the generations before this, rather also and mainly because we are approaching the time about which the Torah announced from Sinai that they will beat their swords into plowshares. And based on this, we may say that the decision and announcement of the leaders of the world's nations on Erev Shabbos of the Torah portion of Mishpotim regarding the state of, and they will beat their swords into plowshares, is an outcome of the decision and announcement of the kings and rabbis, and that here he, King Mashiach, comes, beginning with the ruling of my revered father-in-law, the Rebbe, leader of our generation, that we have already completed our deeds in service of the time of the exile. We have already prepared to accept Mashiach, as well as the rulings of the authoritative rabbis among the Jewish people, that the time of the redemption has arrived. A king will arise from the house of David, receiving the status of Mashiach, including the state of, behold, he is certainly Mashiach, a ruling from Sinai, which is drawn forth and permeates also the realm of the world, to the extent that the leaders of the nations of the world are deciding and announcing, using their own logic, and in their courts, which have the strength of the law of the country, is the law regarding the state of, and they will beat their swords into plowshares. And may we say that the emphasis on the connection of this decision and the announcement of the ruling from Sinai revealed on this day of Shabbos, upon which all the matters of Erev Shabbos, also including the announcement by the leaders of the world nations, are elevated to the holiness of the Shabbos day. He shall eat on Shabbos in a manner snatched from before it. When we read from the Torah, the entire Torah portion of Mishpatim amidst the congregation, and with the blessing before it and after it, in which is emphasized and also intellectually understood laws are from Sinai, and likewise in our case that the announcement of the leaders of our world's nations regarding they will beat their swords into plowshares based on their logical decisions, intellectually understood laws that the nations of the world rule in their courts is from an outcome of the ruling of the Torah from Sinai regarding the coming of Mashiach. And may we add additional points in the connection of the Torah portion of Mishpotim to the end of time exile and the beginning of the redemption, in order of the Torah portion, that the Torah portion of Mishpotim, which comes right after the Torah portion of Yisro, which ends with the laws of the altar. Why is the passage regarding the laws following the passage regarding the altar to reach you that the Sanhedrin Jewish Supreme Court should be located next to the sanctuary, the altar, which this alludes to the fulfillment of the prophecy, and I will return to judge as in the beginning. The return of the Sanhedrin to their chambers in the third base of Mikdash, called the Lishkas, HaKozis, and likewise in the continuation of the Torah portion, in this daily portion of Erev Shabbos, to bring you to the place that I have prepared. My place is already evident, parallel to it. And this is one of the verse which teaches us that the base of Mikdash of above is precisely parallel to the base of Mikdash below. And from the Torah portion of Mishpatim, we come to the Torah portion of Truma, to the extent that we begin reading it during the Mincha prayer of Shabbos, the Torah portion of Mishpatim, in which the Hashem said the command, and they shall make for me a sanctuary, and I will dwell among them, which refers to the commandment to build the tabernacle, the first and second base of Mikdash, and also mainly the third base of Mikdash, the sanctuary which you, O Hashem, have established with your hands. And between them there is the Torah portion of Mishpatim, in order to emphasize the matter of the redemption, the third base of Mikdash, the altar, and the Sanhedrin. In these Torah portions, Yisro and Truma are in a matter of Mishpatim, intellectually understood laws which are obligated even from the perspective of human intellect, namely that they have already been drawn forth and have permeated in the realm of the world, that the world from its own initiative announces that the time of redemption has arrived. Furthermore, and mainly also in the Torah portion of Mishpatim itself, we can see the connection to the end of the time of exile and the beginning of the redemption based on the explanation of the Torah portion of Mishpatim in the moral Torah, which the laws which are discussed in the Torah portion of Mishpatim regarding matters between man and his friends are explained in the oral Torah in the order of Nizikin, which the entire Nizikin, the essence, in one tractate. He then divided the first tractate into three parts, beginning with Baba Kama, which discusses damages. Example, an ox, a pit, a fire, and one who wounds his friend. For a judge may not proceed to do anything before removing the community things that may cause damage. For this reason, he preceded these laws before all other laws afterwards. Baba Mazia, which discusses claims, guardianship, rentals, and the laws of borrowers and hired workers, just as the order of the verses in the Torah Parsha of Mishpatim. And after that, the laws of the ox, the pit, and the fire, when people will quarrel. He speaks about the four guardians. Afterwards, Baba Basara, which discusses the divisions of the land and the laws regarding shared dwellings. And he places this section last, since it is all the laws that have been given over from generation to generation, as well as intellectual concepts that are not elaborated upon in the Torah. And this is also emphasized in the words of the Zohar, three courts of justices. The sages established in the order of the Mishnah, the first one regarding the four categories of damages, the ox, etc., the second regarding a talus prayer shawl that is found, and the third regarding partners, and the Raz, the secret of the lost object. They chose the order of the verse as it is written regarding all acts of negligence, regarding an ox, a donkey, a sheep refers to Baba Kama, for it discusses these things. Regarding clothing refers to Baba Metzia, regarding all lost objects referred to the third Baba, Baba Varasara, namely that all three sections of the Nezikin are alluded to in the verse reading all the acts of negligence, which is in the Torah portion of Mishpatim. And the explanation of this is Nezikin, damages, alludes to the general time of the exile, which is divided into three corresponding to the three general exiles when there are undesirable manners, Nezikin, in the world, beginning with the first 4 basic damages during Baba Kama, the first stage of exile, and likewise matters of disagreement and quarrels. This one says, I found it, and this one says, I found it. They shall divide it during the Baba Metzia middle stage of exile until the Baba Sara, the last stage, and the end and culmination of the exile, which starts off with the partners that want to make a division in the courtyard from their goodwill, from their goodwill they are doing this because they want to, inferring to the fact that if they do not want to, they are not obligated. Without being forced to do so, they discuss the matter to eliminate the damages of one of them, seeing what the other is doing in the privacy, and is conclusive is with the statement, one who desires to become wise should truly study monetary laws in the Torah, the supremacy of the wisdom of the Torah Sinai, in a manner that is also permeates the realm of the world, monetary laws, intellectually understood laws, which through this the risk of undesirable matters, nezikin, is nullified and completely eliminated at the end and culmination of the exile, which then begins the true complete redemption, the third, the trifold redemption, which transforms the 3 exiles, and likewise the third and trifold base of Migdash, which includes the tabernacle and the first and second base of Migdash, and transforms their destruction into buildings and magnificence. And to add that in the tractate of Baba Basara, the end and culmination of the exile, there is allusion also to the true and complete redemption through Mashiach, is also known Talmudic passage in which many of the prophecies of redemption are expounded upon, and among them in the future Hashem will make a feast for the righteous with the fleshly Avi. In the future Hashem will make a sukkah, a tent for the righteous from the skin of the Leviathan, and I will make their gates of code in the stones of the walls of Jerusalem. One said code means onyx, and the other said jasper, upon which Hashem said to them, it will be as well as that, both types of precious stones. In the future Hashem will raise up Jerusalem 3 parsos, as the verse says, and it will be raised and settled in its place, and you may think that it will be troubled to ascend upon it. Therefore, the verse says, who are these that fly like a cloud and like doves to their nests, as well as the Talmudic passage regarding the division of the land of Israel in the time to come. And the above spoken intensifies the wonder, together with the great distress, so much so that due to the greatness of the distress, it is inappropriate to speak too much about it on Shabbos. How is it possible that the Jewish people still find themselves in exile until when? How is it possible that after all the signs indicating the coming of the true and complete redemption, literally immediately, including the event on this era of Shabbos, in which even the nations of the world announcing that we have reached the era of, and they will beat their swords into plowshares, we find ourselves on this holy Shabbos day in the diaspora, instead of finding ourselves together with all the Jewish people from the entire world in our holy land, in our holy city of Jerusalem, in the base of Migdash, sitting at the Latin table, prepared to be eaten from, upon which lays the Leviathan, the wild ox, and the guarded wine. Furthermore, and mainly, that we have not yet received the notification, command, and empowerment that they shall make for me a sanctuary, and I will dwell among them, as we read in the Torah during the Mincha prayer with regard to the building of the third base of Migdash. And from this we understand the great necessity to add with advanced vigor and greater strength in the manner that hastened to bring the redemption in the true actuality, literally immediately. And first and foremost in the matter which is emphasized in the Torah portion of Mishpotim. Mishpotim details the laws between man and his friends in a peaceful manner, and obviously not doing the opposite, thereby nullifying the reason for the last exile, which through this the redemption comes, as the words of our sages regarding the virtue of justice, which Jerusalem was built, as the verse says, Zion is redeemed with justice, and likewise tzedakah, and its captives with tzedakah, and the acts of kindness regarding which is explicitly written in our Torah portion, if you will lend money to my nation, to the poor man, great acts of kindness, loans even greater than tzedakah, and as explained also in the Talmudic passage in Dvar Malchus, the elucidation of the Torah portion of Mishpotim in the oral Torah, the details of the commandments of tzedakah, and among the main detail, great is tzedakah, since it hastens the redemption, as the verse says, so says Hashem, guard justice and do tzedakah, for my salvation is near, and my tzedakah will soon be revealed. beginning with the timely manner, as it is custom every year, that Motzi Shabbos, the night following the Holy Shabbos, the Torah portion, including the verse, if you will lend money. There is a Dvar Malchus dinner to benefit the free loan fund, and beginning that the public needs are discussed on Shabbos, it is befitting that the administrator of the free loans fund should ascend and announce regarding the Dvar Malchus dinner, and certainly it will proceed in the most beautiful manner, and in a manner of a vast nation glorifies the king, and they will donate from the goodness of their hearts to the free loan fund. And furthermore, and mainly, that the resolution to do so will immediately bring the reward. It will bring the redemption literally immediately, which then the Dvar Malchus, the meal of David, Malka Mashiach, David, the ancestor of King Mashiach, will be together with the leader of our generation, our righteous Mashiach, at our head, in our holy land, in our holy city of Jerusalem, at the third base of Migdash. And in the wording of the beginning of the tractate of Baba Basara, the partners that desire that the conduct and relationship between one another is in a good manner of two partners, which each one wants the good of the other partner, most certainly so at fortitude, from the resolution and announcement of leaders of the world nation regarding unity among them, and through this they build the walls of the gozis, hew stones, which we may say this alludes to the building of the base of Migdash as the continuation of the Talmudic passage. Gozis, smoothly fashioned stones, as it is written, of all these were precise stones, that standard gazis, hew stone size. And in continuation to this Talmud speaks about the virtue of the second base of Migdash greater than the first, both in structure as well as the amount of years it stood, as it is written, the honor of this last house will be greater than the first, which the verse refers also mainly to the third base of Migdash, as explained in the Zohar. And in the continuation of this, also the instruction from the beginning of the Torah portions of Truma, which we read during the Mincha prayer of this Shabbos, and they shall make a sanctuary for me, and I will dwell among them. Beginning with the individual sanctuary within each and every Jew, in it does not say, rather in them, within each and every one. Within one's heart and within one's house and one's room, it becomes a house of Torah, prayer, and acts of kindness, including and especially through taking part in the building and broadening of synagogues and study halls in a matter of, and they shall take a donation from me and each and every Jew, gold, silver, and copper, all the 13 items enumerated in the verses, which through this we hasten and bring about the immediate building of the third base of Migdash in the most literal sense. And there is a special empowerment for all this above in these days. In addition to the unique advantage of the month of Shvat, the 11th month, we are now coming from the 25th of the month, which alludes to, shall they bless the Jewish people, the priestly blessing to bless his nation, the Jewish people, with love, specifically, and likewise regarding the priestly blessing which each and every Jewish blesses, they shall be for me a kingdom of priests. At the beginning of every day, following the blessing of the Torah, which we may say, with a feeling of love to our fellow Jew, is emphasized also in the fact that, in continuation to this, and even before the morning prayer, each and every Jew says, I hereby accept upon myself the positive commandment to love your fellow as yourself, as the Alter Rebbe writes in the prayer book, suited for every person equally. Furthermore and mainly, that the priestly blessing includes all the blessing at the height of perfection. It has the virtue of a blessing as well as the virtue of a prayer, and especially the most essential blessing, the blessing of the true and complete redemption, literally immediately. And following this, the 26th day of the month, Erev Shabbos, the numerical value of the name Havaya, which is connected to the fulfillment of the mitzvah, so shall you bless the Jewish people through the Kohens in the base of Migdash with the tetragrammation, not as in the time of the exile. And the preparation for this is through the service of the Jewish people, a kingdom of Kohens, in a matter of, I have placed Havaya before me always, even during the time of exile, which through this we hasten and bring about the revelation of the name of Havaya in the entire world after and through its revelation in the priestly blessing in the base of Migdash. Just as I am written, so am I called. My name is pronounced. And following this, the 27th of the month, this holy Shabbos, pure olive oil to raise up the continuous lamp in the pure gold menorah made of pieces of pure gold, which alludes to the unity of the 7 types of Jewish souls who are compared to the 7 branches of the menorah. And following this is the 28th Kaf Ches of the month, Sunday, in addition to power, koach, strengthened in all these manners. The following of this is Erev Rosh Chodesh, the day that ushering the head of the month, which is the preparation for Rosh Chodesh, and the renewal of the moon of Rosh Chodesh after its concealment on Erev Rosh Chodesh alludes to the renewal of the Jewish people, whom are destined to be renewed like it in the true and complete redemption, and especially since Rosh Chodesh occurs on the 3rd day of the week, when the utterance of that it is good was repeated, and the beginning with the true good of the redemption, and especially double good, which double is connected to the redemption, and with extra emphasis regarding the month of Adar, which has a healthy mazel, being that it is the month that was transformed to joy, the joy of the redemption of Purim, and the redemption is next to redemption. Purim, next to Pesach, which Passover is connected to the ultimate redemption. As the days you left the land of Egypt, I will show you the wonders in the ultimate redemption. Next to also in changing the order, namely the true and complete redemption comes before the redemption of Purim. And so to add that although redemption next to redemption refers to the second altar, which is close to Nisan, and not to the first Adar, which is announced and blessed today, we may say that this fact is also referring to all Adar is close to Shvat, for from the wording of the Mishnah, there is no difference between the first of Adar and the second of Adar, besides the reading of the Megillah and the giving presents to the poor. We can infer that in all other matters, and in our case, its relation to the redemption, they are the same. And furthermore, since it is called not merely Adar, rather the first Adar, it makes sense to say first also in virtue and importance, as emphasizing the 7th of Adar, which is connected to the nullification. And to add that although redemption next to redemption refers to the second altar, which is close to Nisan, and not to the first Adar, which was announced and blessed today, we may say that this fact is also referring to Adar is close to Shabbat. For the wording of the Mishnah, there is no difference between the first Adar and the second Adar, besides the beginning of the Megillah, besides for the reading of the Megillah and the giving of presents to the poor. We can infer that in other matters, and in our case, its relation to redemption, they are the same. And furthermore, since it is called not merely Adar, rather the first Adar, it makes sense to say it is first also in virtue and importance, as emphasized regarding the 7th of Adar, which is connected to the nullification of the degree of Haman, that the lot fell out on the month of Adar, and he did not know that on the 7th of Adar Moshe was born, which is mainly celebrated in the first Adar, and likely we find regarding many matters that the mention of Adar without specifically which one refers to the first Adar. In addition to this, although this Shabbos upon which we bless the month, they announced as per the instruction of the Torah, a Jewish custom is Torah, that Rosh Chodesh of the first Adar is on Tuesday. Behold, when Mashiach will come immediately before Rosh Chodesh, upon which we will again sanctify the months based on seeing the moon, it is possible that the Sanhedrin might change this and decide that there is and will be only one Adar, and it will be next to Nisan, and this befits to elaborate upon this. However, this is not the place. And may we say, and may it be the will of Hashem, that this is the main thing, and the true complete redemption through Mashiach comes in literally, actually, literally, immediately, and most certainly that there is no need to wait until the next month of Nisan, and not even until the month of Adar close to Nisan, and not even until the month of Adar close to Shvat, since Mashiach comes on Shabbos, upon which we bless the month of the first of Adar, at the end of the month of Shvat, on the 27th of Shvat, and especially on the Shabbos afternoon, in the time of the Mincha prayer, and the third Shabbos meal, which is connected to the third redemption and the third Beis Hamikdash. And so may it be for us in literal actuality, literally immediately, with all the explanations of miyad, immediately, and also the acronym for the generations in general, Moshe, Yisrael, the Baal Shem Tov, and David, the ancestor of King Mashiach, and the explanation of mamish literally, and the first and foremost miyad, mamish, in the most literal sense, mamish, mamish, mamish.